Hey everyone, this is a quick video on how to change your antifreeze coolant flusher radiator on the 2004 Highlander V6. If you have a V4 model, you have different capacities, so check your owner's manual as far as the capacities. I went into mine and basically got this, the capacities. Mine again is a 9.9 quarts of total capacity in the car, or 317 ounces. Once I drained the coolant out of the bottom of the radiator, 176 ounces came out of the car. That left 141 ounces that is within the engine that you can't really get to just by draining the radiator. So my approach to this whole thing was to flush out the remaining stuff that you can't get to with distilled water through several cycles of flushing, to essentially have that 141 ounces completely replaced with distilled water, and at that point replace the coolant with additional coolant, pure new coolant, and additional distilled water to get it to the 50% mixture that I needed. So what happens is you'll drain the radiator, you'll measure that amount that you get, which again in my case is 176 ounces. Keep in mind that number so that you can figure out how much you need to when you add the coolant, the new fresh coolant back in. But you drain that out, you put the plug back in, you fill it up with distilled water from the radiator cap. And I'll go ahead and go over here now to show you how that's done. Essentially, here's the radiator cap. Now, you never do this when this is hot. But you would take this off. Again, this is a V6. I'll show you from under here. You can see the little drain plug right here, this white little drain plug that you just turn counterclockwise. Such here. And there's a little drip hole there. You'll see the fluid coming out. Again, this is draining the radiator. It's not draining the whole coolant, the full coolant, because there's coolant and water left in the engine block that you can't really get to. So again, this is draining the radiator. You would do this initially like this. Now, I've already gone through probably 6 gallons of distilled water doing this cycle, and you can see now my coolant there's very, very little there. It's mostly clear. So I've essentially done what I feel like is enough flushing of it. But basically, like I said, I went through about 6 gallons of distilled water where I would fill the radiator, close the drain plug, fill it up with distilled water, run the engine a minute or two, turn off the car, drain that out, fill it up again with distilled water from the radiator cap. And I would even do this while the engine was running. You can leave this cap open, the radiator plug open, and drain it about at this speed while you're pouring water into the actual radiator fill port area. And you just keep it at the top here. I did that as the engine's running. Essentially, you just want to keep water completely in the system with the engine's running. And you could turn off the water again, drain it completely out, fill it up with water again, and do that cycle. And again, I've done it about 6 gallons now, each one being about a gallon of water cycle, and draining it out. So I've basically gotten to where I want it now, where the remaining water that's in the engine block that you really can't get to is all distilled water now, essentially. So back to the numbers here. My assumption now, after several drains, is 141 ounces is left in the engine. That leaves 159 ounces of pure coolant, which is just over a gallon. 128 is a gallon. A little more than a gallon of coolant, pure coolant, and then again another 17 ounces of water to top it all off. That'll give me a 50-50 mixture. That'll be all distilled water. I wouldn't recommend using your hose with your tap water because it has minerals and and things like that that distilled water won't have. And that'll essentially get you a 317 ounce coolant capacity with pure Toyota approved coolant and distilled water. Took about an hour or so to do all this. It's very easy and straightforward, and I think in the end you basically have a nice system that's been flushed, has the proper Toyota coolant, and it's full with distilled water, which should help it last a good long time till your next flush. Anyway, I hope this has helped. It's really straightforward and easy. Just make sure you dispose of the coolant properly. Animals like to drink that, and it's poisonous to them. And check your capacities for your engine type, but essentially very straightforward and easy to do. I would also check it after a couple hours of running, or just after you run it, just to kind of ensure that your capacity's been topped off at your reservoir tank, which I didn't mention, but the reservoir right here, you want to make sure that once you tap it off and fill it up with coolant and what have you, that's within the proper range for coolant. But just keep an eye on it after you're, put your coolant back in and get it all back up and running to make sure that all the air and stuff out of the system gets taken out. Hope this is helpful. Thanks. Have a good day.